Are you still blaming your ex, your parents, or society for where you are in life? Listen up, because holding on to that resentment is poisoning you and keeping you weak. Today, I'm going to show you how forgiveness is the key to breaking free and taking your power back.
We're going live.
We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Happy Friday, y'all. Did you know that it is Nurse Chick's birthday today, guys? Everybody saying happy birthday to Nurse Chick. She's getting older, boys, and you know what that means. It's almost time to trade up. It's getting a little long in the tooth, guys. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I'm kidding. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer, and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about that is that when we level up to get better with women, funny thing happens. We tend to become better men in all areas of our lives. Today is Frame Friday. Every Friday is Frame Friday. And that's where we talk about mindset, right? A lot of it's so paramount that I decided to dedicate a weekly episode to talking about your mindset, emotional control, having a vision for your life, that sort of thing. That's what we do on Frame Fridays. And did you know that many men, especially in the red pill space, are consumed by resentment? They're consumed by resentment towards their ex-wives, women, their upbringing, or society in general. And this anger and blame keeps them stuck. Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. It traps your energy in the past, making it impossible to move forward. You think you're holding other people accountable, but you're really only punishing yourself. And today I'll show you how to free yourself by forgiving. Not for them, for you. This isn't about weakness. It's about reclaiming your mind, your focus, and your energy to build the life that you want. Before we get into it, though, do be sure to like, subscribe, and hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. And would you please, for the love of God, sound off in the live chat today? I don't know what's been going on, but lately I haven't been able to see the chat. I have been able to see super chats, which is helpful. So if you do want to ask a question, send a super chat. If you find these episodes valuable, if you're finding value in these episodes, do consider sending a super chat or two. That does help support the show, probably more than anything else. All right. The cost of holding on to resentment is the first thing we're going to talk about today. So this whole episode, it was really inspired by a couple of things. I just finished listening to an audiobook by Dr. Joe Vitale, and it was called something like the Secret of Attracting Money or something like that. It's a very woo-woo book. It was also very practical too, because although he did talk a little bit about woo-woo, it was very much like how to come up with business ideas, what to do to market it, and stuff like that. It was very, very practical book. It wasn't just woo-woo, but Dr. Joe Vitale is a woo-woo guy. He was one of the speakers in the movie The Secret. And anyway, he had this whole chapter on forgiveness, right? And how the power of forgiving other people who have wronged you in the past. And it's not about, like walking up and actually going up and saying, hey, I forgive you, because you don't necessarily have to do that. But you just, in your own mind, in your own heart, you forgive somebody. And the reason why you do this is because when you hold on to that anger and that resentment for things that happened in the past, things that you can't change, that causes a lot of tension, right? You actually hold on to it, causes a lot of tension. Like when you start thinking about it, when you're thinking about the people that have wronged you in the past, like you can start feeling it. It impacts your physiology. Some people develop cancer because of this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And so they hold on to this and they get all tense and they get angry, and it causes, taps into their, amygdala. They start getting the fight or flight. It's almost like they're reliving and rehashing this hell that they were put through years ago that's been gone, And he talks about how when you forgive people and you say, you know what? I forgive you. I forgive you for doing that. It just immediately releases a lot of that tension, a lot of that energy, a lot of that resentment. It releases it, and you're now able to focus on moving forward. Like, how can I positively move forward? And now that energy that's been stored up in you can be used for something good, right? Something that moves you forward. So I'm listening to him talk about this sort of thing, and I immediately it clicks in my head. One of my legacy clients, and this is he's not necessarily a date coaching client. He's not a relationship coaching client. He's a life coaching client. And this guy, he makes tremendous strides, right? And when he first came to me, rather, this guy was, I would describe him as a broken individual. He was very down in the dumps, very depressed, he had a lot of anxiety, a lot of things that were almost debilitating. And we would meet, once a month. We would do some NLP exercises, get him over that, had him do various things, had him start working on like affirmations, all that kind of stuff. And he was just turning things around, man. He was like a period of 5 months went by, completely different person, very much engaged in the beer club group, very active in there. He was working on his fitness. He was doing all this stuff. And then getting closer to Thanksgiving, he had a sort of a relapse moment. And a part of that was because, he was studying all this red pill stuff. And one of the problems that guys do when they start studying red pill praxeology is they almost become evangelists, right? And they want to tell everybody. They're like, oh my God, I discovered the secret of the universe here, right? With the red pill, and I got to tell everybody about it. And that's not necessarily a good thing, right? You don't talk about Fight Club. And the reason why is because a lot of people are still plugged into the matrix, as it were, and they don't want to be unplugged, right? And if you look at red pill, and the reason why it's even called red pill is the analogy of the matrix. Until people have been unplugged, they're still a part of the system, and they don't want to let that go, and they will fight tooth and nail to protect their belief system, which is, even though it might be flawed, that's what they believe, right? It's like an ego and ego protection type thing. And so you can't red pill people who aren't, who don't want to be red pilled, right? So that's why you don't talk about it. It's like red pills triage. When you see someone, get completely crushed by a girl, now it's time to go, hey, you might want to read some books, right? I got a book for you. You might suggest it, right? But you don't go around just telling everybody. Anyway, so he was, I think that was part of his mistake, is he was telling people like how the world worked, and they didn't want to hear it. And his family ended up having an intervention with him, right? Like one day they all got together and they're like, you can't keep studying this red pill stuff, and you need to go see a psychologist, and you need to get on meds and all, whatever, like all this kind of stuff. And he was just crushed by it, because this was a part of his upbringing, right? A lot of his resentment is with his mom, and how his mom treats him, and how his mom basically, does what she does. You know what I mean? And I told him, I said, while you're working on your mental health, while you're working on this stuff, while you're working on overcoming some of this stuff, all the stuff that we've been working on, I was like, it wouldn't hurt if you took a break from your family, right? Like, you don't have to cut them off completely, but just take a break from them so that you could work on this stuff, because right now you're not strong enough to deal with it, right? As soon as they start interjecting, you haven't worked enough on the tools to make it a part of who you are yet, to make it just second nature, how to respond to them in a healthier manner. And so you'll immediately crumble, And so I told him, I said, for Thanksgiving this year, skip it. skip it. Don't go to Thanksgiving with your family this year. Like, take a trip. Take a trip for yourself. Go on a mini vacation. Go for the weekend or something somewhere. Go down to Florida, whatever. And he disregarded that, and he ended up going to Thanksgiving because he didn't want, to cause any animosity with his family, and whatever kind of a excuse that one gives. And I get it, right? Like, you feel like you feel this draw to your family. You feel guilty. Great book out there is When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, right? When I read that book, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, every single example of manipulative language that they put out there it sounded just like my mom, right? My mom uses every tool in that book to try to manipulate you to feel guilty so that you do what makes her feel better, right? Well, anyway, so that's what I was like, so that's sort of where he was at, right? He was feeling guilty because this is his family and he should be, making them a priority, and he shouldn't be pulling away from them, or whatever he's feeling, right? Anyway, goes to Thanksgiving, complete relapse, right? And anyway, every time I talk to him, since, like, he'll do better for a while and then he'll relapse. Like, he'll do better for a while and he'll relapse, and it's almost always focusing on the past, right? It's almost always focusing on the past, blaming his mom for raising him to be a weak and needy guy, and that's all he could focus on. And he ends up being like, just, crumbled up in a ball in a corner of his room somewhere, feeling sorry for himself, right? But if he just would forgive his mom, take some time away from his mom, he could work on this stuff. He can move forward, but he can't stop focusing on the past, right? But it's not just him, right? And it's not just him, and I'm not beating up on him. It's just, I see this everywhere. I see this in the red pill space. I see guys in the red pill space who blame their ex-wives, right? They went through a horrendous divorce, and like, all women, like, now they hate women, right? There's literally guys that haven't gone through all the different stages of red pill yet, and they're still in their red pill rage phase, and they won't let it go. They won't let go of that resentment, right? So they blame women, they blame society, instead of owning their own self-development and improvement, right? Because they haven't gotten to the mental headspace that you can't change other people, you can only change yourself. So all they're doing is focusing on all the negatives out there. Oh, all women are hypergamous. All women are 304s, and women are cheaters, and 80% of women file for divorces, and like all this kind of stuff. We need to make women do this. Society needs to tell women to do this. And it's all about trying to change women instead of looking at, okay, how this works. How the world works, right? How the sausages are made. How the gears grind together, right? So what are you going to do about it, right? What are you going to do about it? You're going to, on a societal level, change all women by yourself? No, you're not. Not going to happen. So holding on to all that resentment and blame for what your ex-wife did, or an ex-girlfriend did, or whatever, it's not helping you. It's not helping you. I got a 3% brother right now who, this is kind of his MO, right? Like, when I first met him, he was studying how to be a 3% man with the rest of us in the 3% man group. And he was getting good at it too. He was getting good at game, getting good at spinning plates, but he couldn't stop focusing on his ex-wife and trying to get his ex-wife back and trying to reattract his ex-wife. And he would periodically do that. He would periodically reattract her, and then the same crap would happen again, because it's like when you're trying to get an ex back, it's like trying to, read a book hoping for a different ending every time. And it always ends the same, right? So he kept trying to do this, did this for like 4 years, right? 3 or 4 years, till he finally got into a somewhat healthy relationship. And he finally let it go with his ex. And then he started moving forward with this girl, but then he developed one-itis for this girl. And, he didn't want to move in with her. He didn't want to get married. And she did. She wanted to move in. She wanted to do the Brady Bunch thing. And he would come to me like, what do I do? Like, she really is pushing for this. Like, should I cave? And I was like, do you want that though? And he's like, no. And I'm like, then no. And I go, but you have to be okay with her leaving, like that's the rub, guys, right? If you are a man on a purpose and you're holding to your principles, you don't want to get married, there's going to be women that come into your life that are going to pressure you to get married because that's what they want. But if that's really what you don't want, like you're going to be miserable if you do it. So don't do it, right? Don't do it because I'm afraid of losing her. You got to be okay with that. All right. You've got to be okay with saying, well, I mean, this is just not what I want. Like I like things the way they are, but I can understand if you don't, and then you have to be willing to let these women leave. Right. And that's a part of that is having an abundance mindset and realizing that there's always another woman and you're going to be okay, but, yeah, my man's wasn't like that. And he was, I mean, let me say this. He was, really worried about losing her, but at the same time, he was sticking with his guns, and she did finally leave. And then now that she left, she immediately hit up one of her male orbiters, and now she's engaged to be married just a couple months later after them breaking up. And he is like crushed by it. He's really just focusing on the past instead of like, okay, forgive her, move on, right? Forgive the ex-wife and move on. He can't move on. He's stuck in the past. So a lot of this really manifests itself, and a lot of people don't like the word manifest, but it manifests itself as someone who can't move forward because you're stuck dwelling on the past, right? And the only way forward is if you forgive those people who wronged you, let it go, and focus on the future, right? So, so I mentioned I got this from Dr. Joe Vitale's book, The Secret to Attracting Money. Also, Dr. Hawkins' book, Letting Go, phenomenal book. Like if you are a person that is stuck in the past and you want to figure out how to break free from that, I highly recommend reading Dr. David Hawkins' book, Letting Go. Like that is a phenomenal book, and he really just like it's a long read, but it's compelling, right? And he really does tell you like techniques for letting these types of things go. Just sitting there, like when you're experiencing these like panic attacks or you're experiencing anxiety, if you're experiencing depression, how to just sit there in it, right? And the idea of letting go, the book anyway, is that when something good happens, we don't hold on to it, right? When something good happens to us, it sort of flows in us, to us, and through us, and we let it go, and we experience the joy in the moment, and then we're good, right? Like we don't hold on to that. But for whatever reason, that negativity, we hold on to it and we bottle it up, and it causes tension. It causes us to feel bad. It causes us to feel depressed, right? Like all this kind of stuff. Or if we're thinking about the future, that tends to manifest in anxiety. We just really hold on to this negativity. We hold on to that crap. And so if you just learn to sit with it in the moment, right, and feel the feelings that you're feeling about it, but without any judgment, right? Instead of like really holding on to it. And the reason why you're feeling all that pressure and tension and anxiety and depression and all that kind of stuff is because you're trying to resist the feeling because it doesn't feel good. But for whatever reason, you're still holding on to it because what you resist persists, right? So the idea is to just feel it. Feel the feeling, right? Even if you just sit there and close your eyes, feel the feeling, don't judge it, and just let it come to and through you like you would something that's more of a happy feeling, something that's more joyous, right? Just let it come to and through you. Don't judge it, just feel it, right? And then a lot of times what will happen is as you're just concentrating on not holding it and just, feeling it, questions tend to bubble up. Like, why am I feeling this way? Like, what's the benefit of me holding on to this? Why does why does my mind want to hold on to this sort of thing? You start asking yourself these types of questions, right? And what you realize is that the reason why your mind's trying to hold on to this is it's like a survival mechanism. It wants to help you. It wants you to do better, but it's not serving you holding on to that stuff, right? And so once you realize it's not helping you, it's not serving you, like you can literally just let it go, right? But all those trapped emotions, they weigh you down and they block your success in life, right? If you can't get to where you want to be in life because of your past experiences, this is why you've got to forgive and let it go so that you can actually move forward, right? So if you recognize yourself in these stories, these examples that I've given you, like if you've experienced this or if you continue to experience this, drop a little fire emoji in the chat. Drop a fire emoji in chat, okay? And let's get real. How much of your energy is being wasted on resentment? Think about that for a minute, right? Think about how much of your energy is being wasted on resentment. Guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. I forgot to do TikTok live again today. God bless. I was walking into the studio going, oh, I got to do TikTok live today, but I forgot to do that. Oh, man. People haven't been showing up for TikTok lives, though. They show up for these lives, though. Hey, how's it going, guys? I can see you. I wonder if you guys are in the chat right now. For whatever reason, I can't see what the chat's doing, but I'm not even looking at the chat right now, but I can see right up here on my screen. You guys can't see, but I can see it right up here, like how many people are watching. So there should be at least, 30 people or so in there sounding off, dropping a little fire emoji if you recognize yourself as someone holding on to resentment. Guys, get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. Get the free ebook, She's Made You Weak. It's all about the betaization process and why attraction tends to erode over time. And then once you understand why that's happening, you can get some of my books to figure out how to fix it. Normally, I play a commercial for Get Her to F You Again, but today is Frame Friday. My book on Frame really is Psychology Paradigm. And that's all about rewiring your subconscious mind to have more of a dominant masculine presence, have that emotional control. I invite you guys to get that book on Audible, listen to it 10 to 15 times, and really have it seep into your subconscious so it becomes a part of who you are and you start acting that way on a naturally, right? You let go some of this crap that isn't serving you, and you learn to have a little more emotional durability, and you learn how to have success in your life. Let me play a commercial for that, and then we'll get back to the topic today.
Have you ever felt like something's holding you back in your relationships? Like you're always on the back foot, struggling to connect with women? You're not alone. Many men are taught to be weak, to defer, to play small around women by their upbringing, by society, by the very world that shaped them. But what if you could break free from the invisible chains that have held you back? What if you could rewrite the script, reprogram the paradigm that's been running your life? This is your chance to step into the man you were always meant to be. In The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm by Paul Bauer, the first book in R.P. Thor's groundbreaking series, you'll learn how to understand and transform the paradigms that have shaped your life. You'll discover how to develop a dominant masculine presence, one that commands respect, inspires trust, and brings fulfillment to your relationships. Don't wait for life to change on its own. Take control. Order your copy of The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm now on Amazon. Available in hardcover, paperback, or on Kindle. This is more than a book. It's your roadmap to a life of purpose, strength, and success. Make the decision today. Reprogram your life and step into the man you were meant to be.
That book, The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, is a part of a series that we're all writing in conjunction with R.P. Thor. And I've been helping Thor with his latest book in the series, which is called The Superhero Inside. And this Sunday, I'm going to be formatting it for Amazon for him. And he can't do it himself because he's fighting brain cancer. You guys know that. And so I said, yeah, man, I'll knock that out for you. Don't worry about it. So anyway, I'm going to put that together. I'm going to get it formatted for Amazon, which is the hardest part. Writing a book is actually the easiest part. Formatting that sumbitch for Amazon and paperbacks is hard. And formatting it for Kindle is super easy though. So we'll knock that out for Thor. And then I'm going to get together with Huds, who's a Dragon Ship member. And then he's going to help me design the cover. And then together, we're all going to put it together. And then we're going to get Thor's new book out. The Superhero Inside's goddamn good, guys. It's so good. You guys are going to love that book. It's all about really developing this persona of a superhero in your own mind, right? And then when you need strength in life, you call on the superhero. Like it's like Superman. Like when he pulls the shirt, like he's not just Clark Kent anymore. He's a fucking super being. I don't know. Hey, Nurse Chick is in that. Guys, I can see the chat today. What the fuck is up? Okay, Nurse Chick's in the house. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank God it's Friday. She's going to get this one.
So naughty.
She is.
I'm gonna come.
Oh, it is Friday and it is her birthday. CW. Hey, CW says, what's good, gents? And Nurse Chick, it's Friday. That's what's good. And Phil says, hoorah. CW says, happy birthday, Nurse Chick. Yes, indeed. Happy birthday, Nurse Chick. So does Erkin. He says, happy birthday, Nurse Chick. She says, thanks, everyone. Oh, brother Ed sent a $5 super chat. Hold on. Oh, hey, Dottie's in the house. She says, happy Friday. Yeah. And very happy birthday to Paul's gal. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you get spoiled. We don't do that here. We don't spoil women. Guys, smashing like is alpha. Shreddy Eddie says, Shreddy could use letting go. Let's go. He's a beer club brother, and so he gets bumped up to the $10 super chat.
Thank you for the super chat. Movies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in to fill it all again.
Yes, indeed. All right, so let's talk about how forgiveness unlocks your power. So we want to reframe forgiveness, okay? Forgiving is not about excusing bad behavior. It's about freeing yourself, okay? You're doing this for you. You're not doing this for them. That's why I said you don't have to walk up to them and say, hey, I forgive you for your wrongdoing. You don't have to do that shit, okay? Just in your mind, in your heart, just go, you know what? I forgive them, right? And then truly mean it, like truly be like, you know what? It's like, think of, and not to get all religious here. Some of you guys aren't Christian. That's fine. But think of Jesus on the cross, right? Literally nailed to a cross going, Lord, forgive them. They know not what they do. Right. Like, think of it like that. I guarantee whatever someone did to you in the past wasn't as bad as being nailed to a fucking cross. Paul, did you just curse and say the F-bomb while talking about Lord Jesus? Yeah, he'll forgive me. Anyway, Christians, Glenn's audience is going to freak out. It's time to burn him at the stake. Okay. But it's not about excusing bad behavior. It's about freeing yourself. Okay. Think of it like that. That's a really good analogy, right? Like literally these guys beat him. They whipped him. They put thorns in his head and nailed him to a cross so that he would painfully hang there and die. And then he still said, forgive them. Right. So it's more for you than it is for them. And here's the thing. Whenever I say that sort of thing, man, there's guys that are they're holding on to resentment so much, and they're like, no, fuck that. That bitch screwed me over. She deserves every bit of this. It's like you don't realize that all that resentment and that poison you're spewing into the comment system with your anger and your rage, they don't even see that. They don't even know that you're mad at them, right? They and even if you did go and yell at them, do they fucking care? Probably not, right? So your anger in the comment section, bitching about your ex-wife or your parents or whatever it is, it's not hurting them at all. It's hurting you. It's hurting you holding on to that shit. So it's time to forgive them, not for them, for you, so that you can heal and move on from it, right? So we want to reframe that. We want to reframe the idea of forgiving them is about letting their bad behavior slide. It's not, right? But the past is gone. You can't change it. It's about letting it go so that you're freeing yourself up from all this resentment and hate that is killing you inside, right? So let's talk about what happens when you let go. When you let go and you forgive people from your past, what happens? Well, now that you're not focused on it anymore because you've forgiven them, you have more focus for stuff that actually matters to you. Moving forward, having goals in life, leveling up your career, finding new and better women, like whatever it is that your goal is, you can now put more focus on it because you have less focus on the past now, right? It gives you more confidence. It'll give you way more confidence when you realize, hey, I have the power. I have the power of forgiving people who have done wrong in the past. And we all do. We all have that power. We just choose not to use it, right? It almost feels better to feel bad. But when you let go and you move on and now you start seeing success, you're going to start having more confidence, right? It's going to be a positive feedback loop. And you're going to have way more energy for personal growth because I'll tell you what, like my client that I'm talking about, who finds himself dwelling on the past, dwelling about how his mom has wronged him, dwelling about how she's made him weak and needy and codependent and like all the things that she did because of his upbringing. He's not doing much. All he's doing is sitting around feeling sorry for himself, probably laying in bed with a blanket around him, right? He's not moving forward. He has no energy. It's sapping his own fucking energy. He can't even move. So when you let that go, when you forgive them, yeah, they didn't know what they were doing. You know, one of the things that like I look at, I often talk about my parents on my podcast because my parents weren't perfect. You know, I talk about when I say no, I feel guilty and how my mom uses manipulative language, right? My dad had like really bad anger issues growing up. And I learned a lot of that kind of stuff. I used to have a really bad anger management problem. I was almost like Cappy. Can you believe that? Anyway, fuck that guy. Fuck that Cappy guy in his latest book, which is great. But I've sort of in my heart like have forgiven my parents. I kind of look at what they did was they were doing the best they could at the time. Right? They didn't know any better. No one, if you look at my mom's upbringing, my mom grew up in utter poverty, right? When I talk about poverty, like you guys have no idea. I'm talking about, she lived in a, basically a shack, like a cabin, in the middle of fucking nowhere, Colorado, a place called Maybell. They didn't have running water in the house. They had a well outside with a pump. They had an outhouse. I'm talking like they were living like the 18 fucking hundreds. That's how poor they were, right? They would get water, right? They would get water from the pump. They would do this once a week. They would fill up they would get like a bathtub thing on the front porch, and they would fill it up, and grandma would boil water and fill that up with warm water. Grandpa would bathe in it, then grandma would bathe in it, and then the oldest kids would bathe in it. And by the time the youngest kid was in there, the water was filthy. But that's how they bathed. That's poverty, man. My mom grew up that way. And then on top of that, her dad, my grandfather, was a raging alcoholic for years. And a lot of that was because he went to World War II. He saw some serious shit. He had to kill Japanese people. He was a medic. You know, he saw guys' legs blown off. Like, just he came back from World War II with a lot of like PTSD, and the way he self-medicated was with alcohol. And I guess when he was doing that, he was very abusive to the kids. He would beat the kids because it was Tuesday kind of thing. There was times where my it's funny because when my mom talks about my grandpa, she talks about him like he's this great hero of a guy because she was always chasing dad's love kind of thing. And he would always give all the attention to the boys, right? The boys would get all the cool jobs and he would spend time with them. He would go to their wrestling matches and their football games and all this kind of stuff. And like the girls were second class citizens to him. So my mom was always chasing his love. Right. And the thing is, when you listen to my older uncles who were really the ones that experienced his alcoholism and stuff like that. He wasn't the greatest of a guy when he was an alcoholic, right? There was a time my Uncle Johnny was like 14 and had to go pick grandpa up from the bar down in, God, where was that? I'm trying to think of was it Hayden? I don't know where, maybe it was in maybe it was in Craig or whatever. Anyway, he had to go down and pick grandpa up at 14 years old, right? Because grandpa was too drunk to drive. He had to go drive down there and pick up grandpa. Like, that's not good, right? What finally cured my grandpa of that was he one time, I don't know, fell asleep with like the burner on in a camper trailer, and because he got so passed out drunk that the camper trailer caught on fire, and he almost died of smoke inhalation and burns and shit. And that's what snapped him out of alcoholism. So like when I was a kid, he was a wonderful man. He was he didn't drink at all. He would drink like 7-Up and Sprites, and just overall great man, right? But back in the day, wasn't. And so when you look at that upbringing of my mom, it's like, well, no wonder she's the way she is, right? And so I've forgiven her. She's still the way she is. And I sort of just look at her like, that's just the way mom is. And I've learned how to better handle that. You understand? I've forgiven her. She is who she is. I can't change her. I can only change how I deal with her. You understand? Okay, cool. Man, that was a long story. Is Paul trauma jumping on the chat? No, I'm just, giving you some food for thought, right? Practice steps, and then my dad's anger issues. It's interesting. I don't know a lot about my dad's family. My dad was never, his side of the family, they were always on the East Coast. We never saw them, right? I think we went out to visit them in Jersey once. My grandma used to come out every summer. My grandpa almost never came out because the altitude would bother him too much. And because we lived we lived at almost 10,000 feet. And the altitude would kill him. And so he almost never came out. So I think I could count on one hand how many times I actually interacted with my grandpa on my dad's side of the family. So, it wasn't really close with them. But yeah, my dad he's always been very passive aggressive, very angry person, still is to this day, very negative, very negative mindset. And I just sort of like forgive him. But I also, because I know how they are, I limit my time with them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go and spend a whole lot of time with them. I go see them maybe once a month, once every couple months. I'll see them on like Thanksgiving or whatever like that. But I've chosen to keep that kind of negativity out of my life as much as possible. But they're still family, right? They wiped my ass when I was a kid, right? So I still try to help them out when I can, but I try to limit my time with them. And that's just for my own mental health, right? So the same thing can go for you if it's a problem with your parents, right? Limit your time with them. You know what I mean? And just understand they are who they are, forgive them for it, and then just learn how to better handle them, and then limit your time with them. It's a good way of handling that sort of thing. And then your ex-wife, just everything's all business. That's how I handle things with my ex-wife. And she and I, we don't really even have any animosity, I basically forgiven her for everything. And I kind of look at all the stuff that I could have done better. And I've just grown from that. Right. Anyway. So speaking of practical tips for moving on, here's 3 things you can do. One is acknowledge the pain, but refuse to let it define you. Okay. Yeah, you got hurt in the past. Yeah, they wronged you. But it doesn't define you, right? You can move on from that. I like to look at that kind of stuff like they're learning experiences, they're learning opportunities. What did I learn from those experiences? Shift the focus from past blame to present action. Okay. Now it's going to be really hard to do that if you don't forgive the people and move on from the past, right? That's why you're doing it. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you so that you can move on and work on your present actions and how to move forward. And you want to use that resentment as fuel for success. I often say the best form of revenge is to be successful, right? Your bitch ex-wife dumps you and you're pissed off at her. Great. Go make a fuck ton of money. You know what I mean? Your parents were, they made you weak and codependent. All right, forgive them, move on, go make a fuck ton of money. Go be successful. Don't okay. If a good thing that I like to look at is, I didn't like this aspect of my parents' upbringing. Awesome. I'm going to be the best fucking dad ever, and I'm not going to do that to my kids, right? What can I do now? How can I be a better dad than my dad was to me? You understand? Focus on that. Use that resentment as fuel for success. Okay, now I've learned what not to do. Let's do it this way, right? So I got a personal challenge for you guys. If you're ready to take back control, type the word "I'm in" the chat right now. Type the word "I'm in" the chat right now if you're ready to take back control of your life and let go of the past. And while you're doing that, guys, do consider getting into the beer club. Where the hell is this? Do consider getting into the beer club. It's a good group of guys. I finally won my dispute with Gumroads, but it did fuck up everybody. I got so many notifications for the beer club brothers yesterday where like their payments couldn't be processed. And it was all because Gumroad temporarily suspended beer club because they thought we were selling alcohol or something. I'm like, no, it's a men's group. We just call it that, right? Anyway, so all these guys at beer club were like, oh fuck, they all had to go back in and like resubscribe. It was a big fucking pain in the ass, but that should be resolved now. But it's such a good group, man. We've got over 50 guys in there. We're swapping notes. A lot of guys have been through the same shit you've been through. They've come through. They've come out the other side. They're better men for it. If you are going through some shit in your life, get in the beer club. I guarantee there's guys in there that have been through what you're going through right now. Okay. It's only $10 a month. Plus we get together once a month for a video call and just shoot the shit, man. It's not heavy. It's just guys helping other guys out. And it's an opportunity for guys to connect with other men. Most guys don't have that. I was having a chat with my, one of my coaching clients yesterday about expanding his social circle. And we were talking about how a vast majority of men have no real friends, right? They have coworkers. They might have like former college friends or high school buddies, but they don't have any friends that they've made in their every day-to-day life. It's so hard for men to make friends, right? This is a good opportunity to connect with other guys and make some of those types of connections, right? And it's online. Like, you don't even have to leave your fucking couch. And then guys, if you want to work with me, if you're having problems with your relationships right now, I am helping men in dead bedroom situations or guys where their relationship is just going downhill. They know if they don't fix it, it's going to head to divorce, and they want to turn that around because they have a lot of emotional and time equity built up into this relationship, and they don't want to throw away 20 years, right? And at one point, this woman was all about them. They were great together, and then things have just eroded over time, and they want to turn that thing around. That's you. Stop fucking around. Book a call with me. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. Okay. It's not going to fix itself. All right. Oh, sweet. A lot of guys in the chat. I'm in the chat right now. You bastard. Ed says I'm in. Larry's smiley face. You son of a bitch. I'm in. What's the age range? Miles, are you talking about the age range in beer club? Man, we got guys like in their 20s all the way up into their 60s. I think Ed might be the oldest guy in the group. Shreddy Eddie. He's fucking jacked, by the way. That's why we call him Shreddy Eddie. All right. So let's talk about some real life transformations. You guys ever hear of a guy? His name is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Ever hear about this guy? You might have heard of him. He's been in a couple of movies. He's pretty famous. His story is a story of anger and resentment to one of success. Before becoming a global icon, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he faced a shitload of hardships, right? He came from 2 wrestling families, right? The Maivia family, that was his mom's side of the family. She's a part of the Samoan dynasty, right? And then her family ran a wrestling promotion like in Hawaii, and then her husband was Rocky Johnson, right? And because of that, his dad worked the independent system, and his dad would have a lot of like highs and lows with his career where he was making a lot of money and then he would be flat ass broke. You know what I mean? And at 14 years old, his family was evicted from their home in Hawaii. 14. The Rock, a multi-billionaire at 14 was evicted from his house. Isn't that crazy? Hello, yes. Hey, what's up, Nuke? Hey, my chats are fixed. Isn't that weird? It's weird. His dad, who's now a former pro wrestler, he was tough. He was demanding. He would when The Rock was like, "Hey, I want to get into wrestling," his dad was really hard on him. His dad would make him train like a lot, but his dad was also like an alcoholic. As a teenager, The Rock was arrested a whole bunch of times for theft and fights. He would carry anger and resentment towards his life, his family, his struggles. He felt like he had no control over himself. I heard a story once too, where The Rock at some point went to the store owner where he, I think he got arrested for stealing a candy bar, or he stole the candy bar and got away with it. I don't know. But anyway, he went back to the store clerk that he stole the thing for and gave him like a fucking new car or something. I don't know what he did. Tried to make amends for his past behavior. By 23, his dream of playing in the NFL was crushed when he was cut from the Canadian Football League. He played for the CFL. And he only had $7 to his name. He had $7 in his pocket. That's why his production company is called $7 Productions, because he always remembers the time he only had $7 in his pocket. And he fell into depression and deep resentment, and he blamed the world for his failures, right? But when he had $7 in his pocket, he, I think he ended up getting a meeting with JR, right? JR, if you guys don't know who JR is, JR was a wrestling announcer for WWE. He still does some, he still does like color commentary and stuff for AEW. And he was also the head of like talent relations for a while with WWE. And he had a meeting with JR, Jim Ross, that's his name. And he only had $7 in his pocket, and he's like, "Hey, I hate to do this, but can you pay for dinner? Because I only have $7 in my pocket." Like JR tells this story a lot too, right? And he was very humble and thankful for the opportunity to go into the WWE, right? But he had no other options. He had no other skills. He wanted to be a football player and got cut. He had that dream crushed. So the turning point was where he decided that he was going to own his life, own his choices, own his future, and he let go of all that past resentment. And instead of being bitter about his circumstances, The Rock, he forgave everybody in his past. He learned from it. He let go, and he turned all that pain into power, right? He forgave his father for the tough love that later honed him, made him into the strong guy he is, made him into the fucking, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. He let go of self-pity and resentment and focused on self-improvement. He pivoted to pro wrestling from football, using his setbacks as motivation. Like, okay, I'm not going to make it in football, but I'm going to be the best goddamn wrestler who's ever wrestled, right? And then he pivoted. So he did that. Then he developed an unstoppable mindset, transforming from an angry young man to a charismatic powerhouse. One of his things was he was like, I'm not going to be outworked. So he would be like the guy who was like first in the office, last to leave kind of thing. He developed this like incredible work ethic. Like he got really competitive with it. He was saying how he'll get up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym. Like that's his thing. He gets up at 4 a.m, goes to the gym. And then he's like, if I notice that someone on the set is already in the gym at 4 a.m, he's like, I'm going to get up at 3:50. I'm going to get up a little bit earlier so I can be the first one in the gym, like he's competitive that way. But the result is he became one of the greatest WWE superstars ever. That's undisputed fact. He's transitioned to Hollywood and became one of the highest paid actors in the world. He built a billion-dollar business empire, including Terramana Tequila, Zoa Energy, and Under Armour's Project Rock. And he often says that the best thing that ever happened to him was playing in the NFL, because that failure gave him the drive to build something greater. So what's the lesson that we can learn from that? Well, The Rock could have stayed bitter about his failures, his tough upbringing, or being cut from football, but instead he let go, forgave, and he focused on moving forward. So what if, and this is for you guys in the audience right now, what if your biggest failure is actually your greatest opportunity? I'll tell you what, if I didn't go through divorce, if I didn't get dumped by red pill chick, I wouldn't be here right now on this podcast talking to you guys about The Rock and letting go and becoming and working on becoming a men's coach. I wouldn't have done it because I wouldn't have gone through all that pain and had the motivation to actually find a real purpose in life, you know? So what if your biggest failure is actually your greatest opportunity? Okay. I want you to drop the the bicep emoji in the chat if you're done blaming the past and you're ready to build your future, right? And think of this arm as Shreddy Eddie's arm because he's so fucking jacked right now. All right. Now, guys, I have an exercise for you that will help you get rid of some of this past resentment. This is an NLP exercise. And it's to help you reframe painful memory and detach the negative emotions from it. All right. If you guys didn't know, I am a certified master NLP practitioner. That is a part of my resume and what makes me a great fucking coach. Paul, you're very humble. Yes, I am extremely humble. All right. So this is called the movie theater reframe. And the purpose is to mentally distance yourself from the past resentment and reduce its emotional impact on you. Okay. So if you guys can, like if you're driving right now, try to do this later, right? Rewind it and come back to it later. But if you can right now, I want you to close your eyes and picture a really painful memory from your past. Maybe it's breaking up with a ex-girlfriend. Maybe it's your mom being very, treating you like giving you a lot of resentment towards your dad or something like that. Maybe your mom is teaching you to be codependent or whatever. Maybe a boss fired you and you're holding on to a lot of resentment for that. Okay. Think back, close your eyes and think back to a painful memory. Sit in a quiet place. Imagine yourself sitting in a movie theater now. And on the big screen in front of you, see a scene from your past where you felt wronged. Right? Moment when your ex hurt you, your mother shamed you, or someone betrayed you in some way. Now I want you to start this movie in black and white. This instantly reduces the emotional intensity for you, okay? So on the screen right now, it's playing out this part of your life that is painful, but it's playing in black and white. Now, I want you to shrink the image down like it's playing on an old tiny TV screen. And I want you to slow it down or maybe even speed it up like it's a funny silent movie. Whatever you want to do, whatever feels right for you, put it in slow motion or make it speed up, whatever you want to do. Imagine the voices sounding cartoonish or ridiculous, like Mickey Mouse or a robot. And if someone hurt you in the memory, imagine them talking in a helium voice instead of their real one. Now play the entire scene backward like a VHS tape rewinding with exaggerated comical movements. Now picture yourself laughing at how silly and insignificant it all looks right now. Now wipe the screen blank. Now play a new scene where you are strong, confident, completely free of resentment. Make this vivid and bright colors. What's it feel like to you? You see this scene on the screen. What emotions are coming up for you? You're strong, you're confident, everything's going right for you. It's a sunny day. Picture yourself walking away from the past with power, fully in control of your emotions now. You get up, you leave the movie theater, all that negativity is behind you. You can open your eyes now. For the next 7 days, whenever you catch yourself blaming someone for your past, immediately shift your focus to something productive. Okay? This is your challenge. For the next week, if you start focusing on anything from your past, immediately shake it out of your head and focus on something more productive in your future. Okay? And you'll watch, the more you do that, it really helps to shake your head, right? If you find yourself thinking this, shake your head like this, because that's what we call a pattern interrupt. But do that and immediately shift your focus to something more productive, and you'll watch your mindset start to change. You'll start really moving away from this past negativity. Okay. All right, guys. Wrapping up here, I want to take this away. Resentment keeps you weak. Holding on to that resentment is going to keep you weak. Forgiveness is about your freedom, not their freedom. Okay. So this is about you, not them. And I want you to use that energy to build a better life for yourself. All right. Now, if this hit home for you, hit that like button before you go, subscribe and share this with someone who needs it. And if you want more help, you know where to find me. I've got new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All right, guys. Also, drop the word free in the chat if you're committed to letting go of your past resentment. Okay. Drop the word free in the past or in the chat there if you're ready to let go. Tune into Rule Zero tomorrow. I think Jack's hosting, and I think he wants to talk about chore play. Because some lady, making a list of sex activities for doing the dishes or whatever is making the rounds again. So I think we're going to talk about that. Tune into Dragon Ship after Rule Zero. I think Huds is hosting, and we're going to be discussing Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership. And then finally, tune into the podcast on Monday. I'm going to be talking about how religion messes up women's paradigms when it comes to sex. And it tends to ruin marriages. And this all came about because I had this really deep DM conversation with a guy who's been married for 16 years. And, they waited until they got married to have sex. And then when they had sex on the honeymoon, his wife was just not into it because of her religious views on sex. Like, she just wasn't into sex. And he stayed with her for 16 years and it's never gotten better. Right. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how religion tends to mess people up and like their sexual desires. And it's like, even if they're married and they're like, even the Bible itself says, like, sex is okay when you're married. Like a lot of people, they've just been shamed for so long that when they're even in a marriage, they're like, oh, it's still bad. It's still sinful. It's only for procreation. It's not for enjoyment. It's not for building connection and being closer with your spouse. Like they just can't get past it because of their deep-seated paradigm. So we're going to talk about that on Monday. Guys, if you haven't done so, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you for everyone that started off in the chat. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a glitch on StreamYard's end, but I can see the chat now, which is good. Thanks for the super chat, Shreddy Eddie. I can tell that you actually appreciate the show and you get value out of it. The rest of you guys are a bunch of fucking freeloaders. I forgive you. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list. Get the ebook, She's Made You Weak. And I'll also mail you some free stickers. But if you don't want stickers, just put don't want stickers in the address field. I won't waste a stamp on you. I got to mail some of those out this weekend. Get my books. Go to books.comeonmanpod.com. If you really want to work on your frame, your mental strength and all that kind of stuff, get the second book, Psychology Paradigm. I played a commercial for that earlier. Get in Beer Club. It's a great place to swap notes and work on all the stuff that we talk about on the podcast and to swap notes with other guys who are all on the same path. And then, guys, if you want to work with me one-on-one, do consider booking a call. Go to call.fixeddeadbedrooms.com right now. Other than that, we will see you guys tomorrow on Rule Zero.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.